There needs to be more men down there. There needs to be more large humans who can provide protection to small humans, because our bodies are just more vulnerable than yours. And I don't like that. I don't like that I weigh 115 pounds, and I don't like that I do kind of rely on the protection of the people around me. I don't like that. I wish it wasn't the case. But we need more men. Like, what are you doing? Why is it mostly women here? Like, it's so frustrating.
We were all being unofficially declared as mentally ill. We were not of sound mind.
And I think all women should stop having sex for the next 4 years.
And who can't divorce their husband, look up aqua tofu.
For the holidays, so fuck off, choke on your turkey. I'm gonna beat up your whole fucking family. If you have a 5-year-old kid, I'm gonna pick them up.
We can figure out where they're getting their food, right? The ice.
Trans people belong here! We need trans people! We love trans!
And I've been crying since I woke up because ICE is a mess. That ICE is in my neighborhood.
I am disabled! I have a brain injury!
Stay back!
Help me! Help me! Help me! Go ahead! Stop that fucking going! I can't stand another man touching me!
I recognize that over the past.
Remember how much power nurses have in this country?
The name addresses a list of fears for all ICE agents.
Not everybody has the stomach or the wherewithal for what needs to happen next.
I've also been thinking about what I would do realistically if I came in contact with an ICE agent, because
me taking out myself and my kids versus us being
cursed. A lot of people probably have already cursed them, hexed them. Start forming a neighborhood or street watch. Suctional poem, you know, whatever.
It gives me great joy to wish Caroline the 4th degree of terror. That she tears her from bow to stern.
Can we stop giving men microphones?
We're gonna walk out as part of the Free America walkout.
I don't know how this ends. You have to get rid of it.
Falling out of love with my wife after she took a 7-week vacation.
It is not against the law to kidnap the president and the wife. It is
a snake. Why is it an egg? But snake. You know the fuck.
I said go get yourself some lunch for boys.
We were all being unofficially declared as mentally ill. We were not of sound mind.
Did you know I was personally dragged into the whistleblowing about the sexual abuse, trafficking of vulnerable women at the nonprofit organization with a false accusation by the female central to my story? I had support from some famous people like...
One man told me about being beaten by the police and left permanently disabled because of a woman's false allegation.
Hello, it's February 2026. Now, this video is kind of inspired by a few videos that I've done, as well as just watching, for example, other videos on this particular topic, and trying to keep up, again, not because of interest or I'm getting sucked into the soap opera of everything, this distraction, this psyop. But it's very important to highlight, for example, what's actually going on here, and perhaps make people aware of the direction this is going. And it's not going anywhere great. Now, when we look at what's happening in the world today, and we're going to use the United States because it's really, really being amplified here on how these so-called ICE protesters are taking everything to a whole new level. And all this is really under the umbrella of liberal ideologies. Now, it's going to stop here for a second. In Canada, I've said this before, we have basically two major political parties. We have liberals and conservatives. And this has nothing to do, when I say liberalism, liberal ideologies and so forth, about these two Canadian parties. It just so happens that in Canada, we have one party called Liberals and the other Conservatives. And the names in themselves are just names. And there's a lot of, as a descriptive, gray zone within that. And I'll just leave it at that. Going back to seeing how liberal types are acting, they claim to be acting against any kind of discrimination. Now, that's just a term, a word, very vague, and in today's world really means nothing. But if you're going to apply that conventional definition that's mostly used, for example, through mainstream, then there is one group of peoples that are the true minority in this world. And in fact, it was around 2018-19, their world population went from 22% to 18%, and the last time I checked, in 2025, it's around 8% and dropping. This group is the true minorities, but they're the ones that are being vilified. And these are the ones that are being discriminated against largely. Not only that, and this is going to segue into what I want to talk about, how you have, for example, the women of this group, these peoples, that have been the most affected with various psyops and social contagions and everything else. And within this group, there's a divide and there's hatred of their own kind. But what we see now with these liberal types is they've always have, more so now, doing the very same things that they claim to be against. They're claiming, for example, in the US, how federal agents, ICE agents, are being tyrannical with doing their job to protect the people. But here's the thing. They're the ones that are creating an atmosphere, an unsafe atmosphere. For example, loud noises, banging and yelling and screaming and physically interfering with these people trying to do their jobs to protect these people. And then they whine and complain how these federal agents, for example, are on edge and distrustful. It's gotten so bad that these liberal types are actually really doing harm to them, say through using, word crafting, projectile weapons. That's how far they've gone. And every other weapon in between. So these people, these liberal types, are creating an atmosphere. Now they're elevating this to the point of where they're creating their own, I don't even know what to call it, as a descriptive, their own unauthorized civilian checkpoints in their cities, stopping other people who have nothing to do with it. They're just going about their lives, coming and going from work, stores, picking up their children at schools, whatever it is. And they're stopping these people again, with no authority, and demanding them to identify themselves. And these people have created their own database of license plates, and they're running people's plates just like, for example, law enforcement would. Well, here's the thing. Some of these plates that they deem to belong to federal agents are not. There's perhaps an error in their system. Who knows? And they are the ones that are judge, jury, and executioner on the roadside with innocent people and treating them like criminals. And even the federal agents are treated like criminals when they shouldn't be. And these liberal types are going to the extremes, protecting, wordcraft, serious, even violent offenders that are in their country illegally. And when you look at the number of people harmed, severely harmed, taken from life, for example, by these federal agents because of the stupidity of these so-called protesters, there's 5. And there's about, 1,500 people, as a descriptive, taken from life by these people that shouldn't be in the country. But no one cares too much about that. So what we're really witnessing here is the mob ruling. Because these so-called protesters, and they are being funded, in this database that they came up with, they didn't come up with it on their own. They don't have the IQ to do something like that. Somebody, whoever's funding this, perhaps, has created this database for them, and they're taking pictures and putting in the database and telling these people how to use it. And these databases are flawed, like any other database. But these people have turned into a mob where they're attacking innocent civilians. Where's it going to stop? How far are they going to go? And I wonder, even if at their so-called checkpoint, if these federal agents decide to stop, what are they going to do? Blow their whistles, yell at them, and physically attack them, physically attack their vehicles? And where's that going to go? We see a rise in insanity. And I'm going to highlight something here, and this is probably going to trigger some people. Don't care, but it's definitely an observation. How most of these protesters and people doing these things are women. Yes, there are men, beta types, and feminized men who are partaking in all this. But it's mostly women. Because women have been lied to about, for example, feminism and all this other nonsense, and they're being used to create this downward spiral in civilization. Unfortunately, they can't see it. They've been manipulated. And when you think about how this is most, like, for example, why it's mostly women. And it's not picking on women, it's a fact, it's an observation. Women's strengths, in this case, this example, are being used as their weakness. They've taken the focus that traditionally women would have to protect their family, their children, and people in their social circle. They've stripped that away from women, and now that natural instinct that women have is being diverted to people who they perceive to be in need. And that's basically in a nutshell. I mean, I can really get into this in depth. It'll be a whole video in itself, perhaps even several videos. But I've highlighted this type of thing, and I've even mentioned earlier in this video about social contagions, and women are more susceptible to social contagions than men are. And yes, women are more emotionally based. And it's interesting when you look at, say, for example, the difference between men and women. And I'm not going to make this about men and women, and I'm really not bashing women here. But a fundamental difference, say in a family structure, you have children, you have women, and you have men. And I put women in the middle here for a reason. You have children who act like children, immature, everything else. On the other end, you usually have, or should have, a strong man who relies more on facts, logic, that kind of thing. But what makes women unique is women walk or can walk in both worlds and relate to both worlds. Not being a master of either, but having that ability to, for example, deal with children because part of them are children. But also being able to walk in the world, say, for example, of men, because they do have part of themselves being logical and everything else. Again, not to the same extent on either way with children or men, but they're the ones that can walk in both worlds, and they're the bridge. And that's a very special and unique position to be in. I'm just going to give a real quick example. Again, I don't want, this is not the real focus here, but when a child acts immaturely, the father, knowing it's a child, will maybe a couple of times even say, okay, you're just a kid, but don't do that because you're going to get hurt. But then eventually this, like, the man's looking at this like, okay, what's wrong with you? You keep getting hurt, you keep doing the same thing. I'm not going to say that they lose patience or become frustrated, but there's that limit of, okay, as a descriptive understanding. Whereas a woman will understand perhaps why that child keeps doing the same thing and bring that child to a logical conclusion. And then on the flip side, you would have, for example, a man, logic, rules, strictness, whatever it is, descriptive you want to use. And then the woman can kind of say, hey, listen, you gotta ease up on this, or look at it from this perspective. A woman can walk in both worlds. A man, not so much, nor can a child walk into the man's world. Not mentally prepared. Women can go in both worlds. But anyway, going back into the point here, we see mostly women pretty much going insane because the pressure of this psyop or social engineered whatever it is going on, it's really hammering on women. We see extremes, even how some of these women are actually talking about taking people from life. And A lot of them professionals in the medical profession. And it's just crazy. And you're asking yourself, you should be, how is it that they're all saying stupid things online, and watching the ones before them, for example, get arrested, get charged, whatever, and they just keep doing it. I mean, there's no logic there. But we're seeing the mob rules over all. And that does tie into with something that I've highlighted over the years on occasion, this thing called democracy, where 51% can take away the rights of 49%. Now, obviously that number is going to be much higher, but the bare minimum is 51%. That's a mob rules. And democracy always leads into forms of government that people don't want. Socialism, communism, and everything else. It always leads to that. And it's very clever how, for example, democracy was introduced to people, because nations, for example, were founded on being a republic. And then they kind of snuck in, well, democratic republic. I mean, that's mixing oil and water. And now they have everyone talking about democracy, 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 not even understanding what it is. And everyone's, even the most conservative types, are talking about democracy. People got what they want. They don't like it. But they don't understand what they don't like. So we have these liberal ideologies, liberal types, bringing in the very things, the very type of government that they claim to be against, and they're actually the ones who are, I'm just word crafting here, saying and doing the things that they're blaming everyone else on the other side, pointing the finger, projecting, and they can't see it. They literally can't see what they're doing. I just want to highlight this, what's happening in the world, using the United States as an example. Canada has its own variation of this taking place. Pretty much all the Western countries are having this type of thing. But if you're someone of this worldwide minority and you say anything, you're vilified, not only by, as a descriptive outsiders, but vilified by part of your own. There's nothing you can do about it. There's no stopping this. Just survive. Thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, comment, and share.
Elon Musk, like, when you X him, and by X I mean formerly known as assassination, and it's one from my FBI is gonna fucking show up on arrest me.
They're on their way.
You don't have enough people to even investigate me at this point. I haven't filed my taxes in like 8 years. I'm gonna fucking say it. Let's assassinate some motherfuckers.
Attention. If you're a crazy, liberal, ugly woman, otherwise known as crazy Karens, if you're fat and ugly and annoying, think about some of those life decisions where everything went wrong. We're deporting all the ugly, fat, liberal, crazy bitches and soy boys. If you have a nose ring, go ahead and join the retard caravan. Even if you're not a liberal, you look retarded anyway. Please join the front of the line with the other super retards.
On the ground, now! You'll never take me!
If 20 million illegal immigrants can help our economy, why didn't they help their economy?
I'm simply trying to illuminate the terrain in which we currently find ourselves deployed. You don't mind that, do you? And if you do, fuck you!
Yes, sir. Get on my frequency! Yes, sir. You fucking maggot! Who the hell do you think you are?
After 9 years, you know what I realized? Ignorance is bliss.
Just remember, I was one man against many. Fighting a losing battle, but I still fought to the end.
That means press on. That means endure. That means God cannot fail, and you're not going to give up. That's not an option for a child of God. This means you are going to be. Listen to this and write it down if you can't remember it. You're never going to outgrow warfare. You simply must learn to fight. I hear people saying to me, when is it going to get easier? When you die.